Get instant weather info,
Local forecast. Accurate, up-to-date weather information for your neighborhood. Only on the Weather Channel.
In Ohio, where lots of snow to welcome in the first day of April. 7 inches of snow, as a matter of fact, and for the season, almost 98 inches, and that makes it the second snowiest winter on record. So hopefully sometime soon you'll finally get a taste of spring, but not today. In Wellington, 6 inches of snow for you. Ashtabula, 2 inches, and even Columbus, an inch of snow. Snow joke here in Ohio. Well, to the northeast we go, where this front responsible for that activity in the area of low pressure here, moving on through the region, the moisture wrapping around, the cold temperatures, and we're still looking at snow through parts of New York State, Pennsylvania, and into West Virginia, mixing in with the rain in some areas too. And we're also looking at some pretty windy conditions, especially along the coastal areas. And for that reason, we have a gale warning in effect from Watch Hill, Rhode Island, south to Little River Inlet. Winds 39 to 54 miles per hour possible here, so not a good time to be out in these areas. Across the rest of the country, back to the southeast, looking pretty good. Our front clearing the southern coast of Florida finally, through the Ohio Valley, through the Plain States, looking pretty good until we head to North Dakota, where some snow is here. And in the west, we are looking at an area of low pressure moving onshore. Pacific moisture, we've had rain, even thunderstorms earlier today, some severe weather moving through central California, and we have snow for the higher elevations. But in the east, where we've seen the front sweeping on through, we've seen quite a temperature contrast here, a temperature change compared to this time yesterday. Temperatures anywhere from 5 to 15 to 20 degrees cooler through the Ohio Valley and into the northeast than it was at this time yesterday. So that front really made a difference here with your temperatures, but a warming trend has been seen here through the Plain States. Our current temperature is very nice and mild here in the southwest, 60s and 70s. 70s now around Phoenix, and pretty mild for the Gulf Coast states. But to the north, we are looking at the chilly air producing 30s and 40s. You add a little wind to that, and it's pretty miserable. The wind chill now in Chicago, 22, and even into Atlanta. It's been just a raw, miserable day for Atlanta. Chilly, wet, just really murky here. And with the wind, we're looking at 23 degrees for a wind chill factor, so unpleasant to say the least. And even up to the north, New York City, 31. That's what it actually feels like. But a contrast back to the west, with record high temperatures set today. Casper, Wyoming, 70, warm enough to tie a record for you. And in Rock Springs, 63, and that was a record tied for you too. In the west, here's that area of low pressure that we talked about earlier. That's moving onshore, bringing the wet weather. We're looking at soggy conditions through northern, central, even into southern California, where we have seen shower activity for Santa Monica and LA. San Francisco has been on the wet weather. And we're looking at snow for higher elevations, the Cascades and into the Sierra and the northern Sierra are under a winter storm warning above 7,000 feet, so some locally heavy amounts of snow will be falling here. Well, the rest of the country, our pattern looking like this on Monday. We see a ridge here across the central states, a trough in the east, and that's allowed some cool temperatures to move into the northeastern U.S. and even into parts of the south, digging a little farther south than we would normally see. But later in the week, we're going to see an even more amplified pattern here. A very impressive ridge here across the western and central U.S. and a very deep trough here in the east. That is going to allow those cold temperatures to move even farther to the south. And the result is going to be below normal temperatures continuing here in the east. Bad news for the plants here. That's sort of going to inhibit any sort of growth. That's going to be a problem. But in the west, what we're going to be dealing with is some pretty mild temperatures, even quite hot. Some areas in the desert southwest will be getting up into the 90s before all is said and done. Well, it's time now for our good evening forecast. We'll take you first into the northeastern U.S. 32 will be your low in Albany, 40 in New York City, 27 in Pittsburgh, 26 for Detroit, and for Buffalo. You will see some clearing skies here, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, around Roanoke. Maybe a little sunshine here, but the windy conditions will be around New York City, Albany, Washington, D.C., and the wet weather lingering here through New England. Soggy conditions, at least for the morning hours, with maybe some snow for northern Maine. Into the southeast, overnight, Atlanta down to 37 degrees, 35 in Nashville, 46 for New Orleans. Your high tomorrow, a nice 73, plenty of sunshine. But again, those windy conditions will be here through the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida, and also looking at some windy conditions here around Dallas-Fort Worth. But your high, 81, quite nice here. Chicago, 33, your low, 15 in Duluth, 16 for Sault Ste. Marie, and high temperatures around 34 in Duluth. Snow showers a possibility through the UP of Michigan and northern lower Michigan. Windy conditions, St. Louis, Kansas City, and Wichita. And in the west, 40s and 50s for lows. You're going to see more wet weather in the Pacific Northwest with highs in the 50s, but up to 69 for a high temperature in L.A. Well, stay tuned. We'll update your travel conditions coming up next.
It's the ultimate test of a glass cleaner.
For participating Michelin dealers.
Well, let's be heads up on the highways tonight from Washington, D.C., up through southeastern Pennsylvania into North Jersey, southeastern New York, and then up the Merritt Parkway toward Bridgeport. It is raining, and it's raining hard. And the backside of this thing, some wet snow mixing in, but that's not amounting to much. We've had no reports of any accumulations aside from what happened earlier tonight in Ohio, and you'll see that next on WeatherScope tonight. Here in the west, we've got some rain showers. The rough weather that was in central California has now moved out. We're picking up some heavy snow in the mountains, but no more severe weather is expected on 99 or Interstate 5, so that's good news. But once again, up in the mountains, that's where the heavy snow is. And as the cold front swings down toward Las Vegas and Phoenix, some strong winds here in the morning, so we'll have to watch it on Interstates 10 and 17. Coming up next, a look at what happened today at Jake on the Lake. The snowstorm that canceled the baseball game between the Indians and Yankees. Next on WeatherScope.
Wet weather takes the spotlight from coast to coast, no fooling. Some states start off April with showers, others play it up in a more winter-like fashion.
And baseball's opening day was a disappointment for many teams, and they can't blame this one on last year's strike. We'll have the latest on the weather where you live next on WeatherScope Tonight.
For a scope of coverage you won't find anywhere else, this is WeatherScope Tonight.
It's top of the hour. You're watching the Weather Channel. I'm Gene Rubin, and April is sure off to a miserable start around the country. We have snow. We have frigid wind chills in the south. We have heavy rains in California, heavy rains in New Jersey. We have everything. It's not a real good way to start off April.
No, I'm Jeff Morrow, and indeed, Gene, it's been pretty nasty. In fact, opening day for baseball in many areas, at least 3 games had to be at least postponed because of the weather, 1 because of snow. But we're going to take you to the Vet in Philadelphia first of all. Tarps covered the infield at the Veterans Stadium there in Philly with moderate to heavy rain falling most of the day and into the evening. The Philly season opener against the Rockies was postponed actually yesterday when they saw that the forecast called for rain. Meanwhile, it was snow that ruined baseball's opening day in Cleveland. The Indians were supposed to host the Yankees there at the Jacobs Field, but 7 inches of snow put an end to that. That makes this the city's second snowiest season on record. 97.9 inches of snow, and pretty much the same deal in Columbus in Ohio too. Not quite as much snow, but still it was a messy rush hour as rain changed to snow right during the morning rush. Accumulated about an inch, and then it was just windy, blustery, and cold for the rest of the day. So definitely feeling more like February probably than the first day of April. No joke about it here. Cleveland